This is going to be my first attempt at doing some close-up filming as well as using voiceover. The project is putting a zipper in a bugle tube to hold your mouth calls. First time I saw it was on season 4 of Destination Elk. The YouTube channel's Elk 101, run by Jacobsen. Thought it would be a pretty cool little project, and it actually turned out to be quite a bit of work, but I'm happy with the results. The biggest takeaway was realizing that I had to split the seams. You couldn't fit it into the sewing machine very well, and once I did that, everything went a lot smoother. Since I'm cheap and didn't have lofty expectations, I ended up just using some zippers out of some handbags I had laying around. Same with the material I used for the back of the pockets. I guess another takeaway would be using really thin thread versus really thick thread. I started off using some thick stuff because I thought it would be more durable, but it ended up being more trouble than it was worth because it kept jamming up for me. As soon as I switched to the thinner thread, I had no more problems and it fed nicely. Just a warning, I haven't touched a sewing machine in a couple of years, and the extent of my formal education in the matter would be the required home economics class I had to take in high school. My requirements for this project were: does it meet the minimum definition of a pocket? Does the zipper work? And will it stay together? With all that being said, I think we'll just jump right into it, and I'll comment where I think it'll be helpful. Honestly, I think this was the most tedious part of the whole project, was ripping this seam out. I tried a couple different methods, but this little thing here seemed to work the best. I actually sharpened it a little bit with a file, and it seemed to go twice as fast once I did that. You just got to be a little bit more careful when you're poking in there so you're getting the thread and not the material. I kept asking myself why these things don't come with pockets. I guess it's a cost thing. For me, the motivation of having it is to segregate my calls a little more. For some reason, they always end up in my pants pocket, balled up into a wad. And when you've been wearing the same pair of pants for over a week in 90 plus degrees weather, the last thing you want to do is pull your call out of your pocket, flatten it out, stick it into your mouth, and do a bugle. Anyways, I guess that's why I'm doing this. And it's just kind of fun. I was having a heck of a time getting the seam to stay folded over as I was trying to sew it on the machine. So I brought it inside and used an iron to fold it over and get it to stay in place. That way when I went to sew it, it'd be a lot easier. I think this thing's called a presser foot. Anyways, I had one that seemed like it would work better for the zipper, so I threw it on there. Alright, if you're still watching this, you're most likely waiting with great anticipation for someone with little to no sewing experience attempt to make a zipper stick to a bugle tube sleeve. If that's the case, I feel you deserve another warning. The next bit is extremely tedious. I somehow managed to fiddle fasten multiple parts into something resembling a zipper, but it's not done in an elegant fashion. What I don't show is the 10 attempts on the first bugle tube where I managed to make multiple balls of thread that resemble Blair Witch stick figures. Then move every dial in a machine in an attempt to figure out what the problem was. If you're not winning, I guess you're learning, and this was a lot of learning. Feel free to fast forward, but I figured I would leave it in just in case you thought you were going to tackle this project on your own. I think this was probably the part I liked the most. For some reason, burning these little tag ends seemed like a good time. I don't know if it's the right way to do it, but it's the way I did it, and it seems to keep them pretty solid so the seam won't rip apart on its own. Also used the the lighter to clean up the ends of the fabric a little bit too so it wouldn't fray. Here's a hot tip. If you want your pocket to stay in place while you're sewing it so it doesn't move all over, um, definitely you're going to want to pin it. And the expert that I asked told me that I could just sew right over these pins. And I had no idea you could do that. Anyways, it's a pretty cool little trick that I'm very happy they showed me. You can see in the other bugle tube at the end of the video what it ends up looking like when you don't do this. The pocket kind of moved on me. And it ended up looking a little goofy, but it still works, so I am just going to run with it. Anyways, here we are sewing the, I don't know, the fabric onto the back. You'll notice that I switched out the presser foot thing again. I guess you could keep it on there, but for me, given the low skill level I have at doing this, it was a good idea to throw this one back on. I didn't want to leave the metal zipper that was originally on these because when you moved it around in the bugle tube, I figured it would make too much noise. So I ended up finding some old fishing line and used that to just tie on a little thing you could grab in order to zip and unzip the zipper. Here we are on the home stretch, basically turning it back into a sleeve again. By this time I had the machine set up right and had enough practice that I didn't have any more issues from here on out. Here we are just burning off some more tag ends and doing the final assembly. If you were to ask me if I would do this again, I would say absolutely, as long as I'm not filming it. If you have basic sewing machine skills, this shouldn't take more than a couple of hours to complete. I ended up doing 2 of them in hopes that they get used this September in Montana. My cousin and I put in for the draw, and we should hope to find out in a couple of weeks if they're going to get used or not this season. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video.